In 1938, British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain traveled to Munich to meet Adolf Hitler. Desperate to understand the man behind growing tensions in Europe, war loomed large. But after the meeting, Chamberlain left Germany feeling reassured, believing Hitler was a trustworthy figure, and history, of course, would prove him disastrously wrong. While few of us would ever make decisions as consequential as Chamberlain's, we constantly make judgments about strangers, whether at work, parties, or in everyday encounters. The truth is, we are terrible at reading people's we don't know. This book will explore why it is difficult to judge someone's character, highlighting our tendency to trust and our poor ability to detect lies. Before we dive deeper, a quick note. See, this video contains few sensitive topics including murder and other kind of violences. So, this example contains those. Take Solomon, a bail judge in New York. He believes he can gauge defendants by talking to them, observing their behavior. But a 2017 study showed that AI outperformed him. The AI was given only defendant's age and criminal record, yet it made better bail decisions than judges. Defendants released by human judges were 25% more likely to be reoffended compared to those AI selected. We often overestimate our ability to judge people based on face to face interaction, but the evidence can be misleading. In 2001, psychologist Emily Pronin ran an experiment where people filled in missing letters of a words like GL dash dash and were asked when their words of choice said. Most participants shrugged off their choices as meaningless. Yet, when asked to analyze choices of others, they confidently assigned personality traits to strangers based on just few letters. This points to a key flaw. While we see our own complexity, we tend to oversimplify others. Consider Ana Montes, a model employee at US Defense Intelligence Agency, except she was a Cuban spy. There was a warning signs, but nothing that seemed sustainable enough. This reflects a broader truth. We default to trust. Psychologist Tim Levine experiment shows that we only identify liars correctly about 54% of the times. We mostly believe people are telling truth unless there is an overwhelming evidence otherwise. This tendency serves us well, as most interactions are honest. But when someone like Brennan Madoff comes along, it leads to disastrous consequences. Harry Markopoulos, an independent fraud investigator, wasn't fooled by Madoff's schemes. He was skeptical, largely because he grew up witnessing fraud firsthand. In the parents' businesses, Markopoulos repeatedly warned authorities about Madoff's impossible returns, but they ignored him. His skepticism was rare but essential in this case, though for most of us, defaulting to trust works fine in everyday life. We expect transparency from people's demeanor. Think about watching Friends on mute. You can still follow the plot just by reading actors' faces. But life isn't a TV show. A transparency can be deceptive. Take the case of Amanda Knox, who was wrongly suspected of murdering her roommate in Italy. Knox's behavior, such as being affectionate with her boyfriend and making blunt statements about murder, made her seem guilty, even though there was no physical evidence linking her to the crime. Her demeanor was misread, proving that transparency is often unreliable. Then there is the issue of alcohol and sexual consent. Brooke Turner's assault case at Stanford shows how alcohol blurs judgment and consent. A Washington Post poll revealed that people don't even agree on what counts as consent. Some think taking off your clothes is enough, while others believe not saying no is sufficient. The mix of unclear boundaries and alcohol can lead to disastrous and dangerous situations, making consent even harder to judge. The lesson is clear. We are not good at reading strangers as we think.